All right, so in this application, we're going to create a recipe proportion control calculator, and I've already got the name saved. I'm going to keep the cat, and I have found an image of a recipe for puppy chow for a snack. It's not for actual puppies. It's more like a Halloween or a Christmas treat kind of thing. That's a little smaller than I need, maybe like that. And then I'm gonna make the icons or the sprites for the text. Let's make this one sort of a brown. I'm gonna make that text, and this is puppy chow recipe. Okay, just move it up a little over here. And I'm kind of eyeballing it on this side to sort of get it where I want it, and that way I don't have to worry about moving the sprite. A little bigger. There we go. Kind of move it over a little bit, maybe to there. Nope, still not quite in the center. There we go. Close enough. I'm going to make another one that says serving size, so just use the same. And then I'm going to put a space or two in there just to kind of sort of force it to be centered. I'm going to move it over to about there. So the serving size. And now I'll need one that says, how many guests do we have? And again, I'm gonna sort of see if I can make that look like it's centered up. So that's sort of a way to make it look like it's lined up. Okay. So now I have that part, and I want to go ahead and put the variables under there to see how it looks. So I'm going to make a variable called serving size and one called guests. All right, awesome. So make sure serving size is under serving size, and then change that. And then under number of guests, change that. Okay. All right, so now I need all the ingredients. So let's go ahead and make the variables for the ingredients. Let's see, we need butter first. Whoops, need to spell it right. So here's a good way to show you. If you do misspell it, you can right click on it and rename it, and then go in and fix the spelling to be what you want. I'm going to put butter down here. And this is cups of butter. Okay, I'm gonna move it over this way just a little bit, and we can make a sprite to go here that has the better text, so that you can actually put cup of butter and that kind of stuff in it. So make another variable called Chex for the Chex Mix. Make another one called chocolate chips. Another variable called peanut butter, so PB or peanut butter. I'm just going to put PB because that's what the instructions have, and I want you to be able to learn to follow along with the instructions. So powdered sugar. We've got serving size, and next we need vanilla. And then finally we need one more that's not going to show, called the ratio of guests to serving size. And then we're going to turn the checkbox off for this. Actually, let's leave it for now. Let's leave it in there for now so that we can actually see what that is and talk about it shortly. So I'm going to line these guys up. Chocolate chips, peanut butter, powdered sugar, and vanilla. All right, so now I'm going to make a Sprite that has these things spelled out a little better. So I'm going to keep text. I'm going to make it darker brown so it shows a little better, and then I'm just going to sort of eyeball getting it close to lining up here. So cups or cups of Chex Mix, or just Chex. And I'm just going to hit, and I'm going to put it all in this one text box so that it lines up nice and neat. Cups of peanut butter. Cups of chocolate chips. Cups of powdered sugar. Teaspoons of vanilla. Or teaspoon or spoons of vanilla. And finally the butter. I'm not sure why they had you create that first and then put it last, but we can always rearrange it. All right, so I'm gonna click out of that and sort of move it on here to roughly, I'm just gonna put it in the center, and then I'm gonna grab it over here and move it. It's a little easier to do. All right, now I'm gonna arrange this. Whoops, that's gonna be too big, so let's stretch this to match this, and that's going to be cups of butter. So I'm going to move these guys up high enough to be out of the way. And I wish my computer didn't think a long click was the same as a right click, but that's why that menu pops up. All right, so I'm going to put cups of butter there. I'm going to try to grab it, move it up just a touch. All right, so vanilla, so teaspoons of vanilla. Cups of powdered sugar. Is that powdered sugar? Yeah. All right, cups of Chex. Just chocolate chips. This one's peanut butter. So let's make sure we have them all in the right order here. Daggone it. And it's kind of neaten it up a little bit. So I wish that you could do it while it was enlarged, like full screen. It'd be real easy to line up that way, or at least a lot easier. All right, so let's try to line this up as best we can. Can you select it and use the, no, that's for the picture. So let's go code. All right, so I'm just gonna eyeball it. Don't take too long trying to get that nice and neat. I won't count off too many points if it's crooked. That's good enough, good enough. All right, so we have our screen laid out. And now when the flag is clicked, we want to clean everything up. We want to make sure everything is either empty or set to 0 or set to a certain amount. And we're going to set this serving size. The recipe that I found on here, the serving size is 10, and then we have the information we need for this right here. So I'm going to make sure the cat's selected, and I'm going to put my start code under the kitty cat. So kind of enlarge it a little bit. I'm not sure how well it's going to show up on the video, but do what we can. All right, so the serving size is going to be 10. So we're going to set the serving size to 10. And make sure you change your variable. So I've got quite a few this time, so you might have to scroll up and down. So serving size is set to 10. And then the guests, the number of guests will be blank, because we're going to ask how many guests we have so we can do all the calculations. And then now we're going to put in for 10 servings, how much the recipe calls for. And then we can adjust that based on the ratio of guests to serving size. All right, so let's put in Chex. All right, so cups of Chex, it takes 9 cups of Chex for 10 serving sizes. For peanut butter, which is next, it takes half a cup, so 0.5. For chocolate chips, it takes a whole cup of chocolate chips. This actually sounds pretty good, to be honest with you. Powdered sugar, 1 whole cup of powdered sugar. Vanilla, 1 teaspoon. Notice it says teaspoon and not cups. 1 cup of vanilla would pretty much ruin it. So 1 teaspoon of vanilla. And then finally butter. We need 1/4 cup of butter, so 0.25. All right, so when our program first runs, and I'm going to run it to make sure this works, we want to set up what 1 serving size would be. So that's enough. Serving size would be 10, so that means it's enough for 10 people. So if we had 10 guests, the ratio would be 10 over 10, which would be 1. We multiply everything by 1, so technically nothing would change. But that's not always going to be the case. So the first thing we need to do after setting this up, or the next thing we need to do, is have Mr. Cat ask. I'm going to go ahead and pull the answer over. I've seen some students pull the answer over and then not use it. But the reason we pull it over now is because we're going to need it in just a second. And it's easier to keep from scrolling back and forth. All right, so we are going to ask how many guests are there? And then we're going to wait for the answer, and then we're going to store that in the guests variable. So we're going to set guests to whatever answer we get from that question. All right, so now if I run it, nothing here is going to change. That looks awful. So I might need to move the cat. But how many guests are there? We're going to say 23 just to get the number. So the number of guests goes to 23. Let's move this cat up here, and let's move the bowl down here and see what happens. Okay, that looks a little better. He's not blocked right there, so it's funny that a cat has a puppy chow recipe, don't you think? Yep, I know. You don't think everything I think is funny is funny. Ha ha. So we're going to now we're going to find the ratio. So we're going to set the ratio of guests to serving size to be a ratio. And a ratio is just a fraction. So we're going to divide the number of guests by the serving size to get our ratio. So let's run it now and test that. It's always good practice to run it whenever you make a change. So I'm not going to calculate anything down below, but I'm going to run it. So I now have a 10 serving size. I have 20 guests. So the ratio of guests to serving size is 2. So that means for every serving, I have 2 guests. So 20 divided by 10 is 2. All right, great. So now we just need to do the calculations on the recipe and we'll be done. So scroll up just a little bit, give me some room. And I'm just going to, now that we have our ratio, all you have to do is multiply that ratio by everything. So Chex is going to equal, and I'm going to go ahead and pull over 6 multiplications. So I'll have them, and I don't have to scroll back and forth. Well, actually, I can just duplicate this guy. So I'm going to set checks to checks. So the amount of checks times the ratio. So right now, see, it says 9. So what it's going to do is it's going to take this 9, it's going to multiply it by 2, and that means we're going to need 18 cups of checks if we have 20 guests. So let's test that. So I'm just going to keep it at 20 guests. Perfect. So our ratio is 2. We have 18 cups of checks, which is what we should have. It's twice as many people, so it should be twice as much. All right, so right-click on this guy to duplicate. Put it underneath. Change it to, stop it from running. Nope, I don't want you to run. Stop clicking the run. Change it to cups of peanut butter. And change this to be peanut butter. Where's that? There it is. Okay. Do that all the way down. The next one after peanut butter is chocolate chips. We're going to take out the peanut butter and just multiply by the chocolate chips. So notice we're not having to change the ratio. The ratio, once we calculate the ratio up here, we can use it over and over and over. And that's the cool part about the code, is we only have to answer one question and it does all the work for us. All right, so after chocolate chips we have powdered sugar, and I just realized that kind of goes off the screen, but I am not going to worry about it. So we want to change that to powdered sugar. Drag over powdered sugar. The next one is vanilla. I'm going to shrink this down so you can see everything, even if it's tiny. So we're going to select vanilla. We're going to change out the vanilla variable. And then the last one is cups of butter. So I'm going to just duplicate this, change it to butter, change the variable to butter, and oops, change the variable to butter. Put that back where it goes and stop it so that I can look at it, make sure everything's right. So I've got 6 items in my recipe, so that means I need, after I calculate the ratio of guests, I need to multiply it by all 6 ingredients. Everything's good. Checks, peanut butter, chocolate chip, powdered sugar, vanilla, butter. Okay. So if I run it now, we should get, how many guests are there? And I'm going to say 20 because we know that that's going to come out to a ratio of 2. And when I do that, now I have 18 cups of checks, 1 full cup of peanut butter, 2 cups of chocolate chips, 2 cups of powdered sugar, 2 teaspoons of vanilla, and half a cup of butter. And I misspelled it right there. I'm just going to leave that because I'm not sure if I guess I can fix it real quick. I keep forgetting that this is just text. It's not saved as an image per se. So we'll fix that. Can't really get the text on the screen over here, and I'm not going to move everything for that. So, all right, so let's reset it. It's going to reset everything, and I'm going to put 10 this time. I'm going to put 5 this time, I mean. So if the serving size is 10 and we only have 5 people, then we're going to cut everything in half. So the ratio is 5 to 10, or 5 over 10, which comes down to 0.5. And basically, we cut everything in half that's in the recipe. Fantastic. Looks like it works really good. So let's have a party and invite 123 people. So that means we need all of this stuff. 110.7 cups of checks. Notice that now that we have decimals, that's perfectly fine. That means everything is working like it should. I only tested with whole numbers that I knew would work out. So let's try 15. So watch this 9 right here. So half of 9 plus the original 9. So we're going to need 15 servings. So see, that made 9 plus 4.5 because we multiplied by 1.5. So that looks to me like it's working absolutely wonderfully. So I am going to stop there. Don't forget to share this guy. Copy the link, send it to me on Canvas, and you're done.